Hello everyone, welcome to Infra Experts. This is the second session on MySQL Cluster. So in the previous session, we saw the theoretical part of MySQL Cluster. So in which we saw what is MySQL Cluster, the features and benefits of MySQL Cluster, what is MySQL Cluster Manager, MySQL NDB Cluster, and also the cluster architecture of NDB, where we saw what is checkpoint and many other things like cluster manager, data nodes, SQL node. We have seen these things. So in today's session, we'll be jumping totally into the practical session and we will see how to configure MySQL cluster. So I'll be referring this note which I have prepared for the MySQL cluster, and over here the private IP for the MySQL cluster data node will be taken as 192.168.190.5. The private IP address for the second data node will be taken as 192.168.190.6, whereas for the cluster manager and MySQL server node it will be taken as 192.168.190.7. So in the in the cluster manager only we will be having the MySQL server node. Ideally it should be in the another server itself, but in here we will be proceeding like this since we will be out of resources for my lab setup. So if you are unaware how to provide sudo privilege to a user, this is the step which you need to follow. So for me, the my MySQL user is already having sudo privilege. So what I will do is that I'll be creating these directories in my cluster manager at first. So I will be going step by step. So this is installing and configuring the cluster manager. So in here, this is my cluster manager. I will log in as MySQL user. Right now I am in root user. So this is done. The next step is I need to copy the file from this location. Already I have it in my directory. So I'll just WinSCP it to my server. So for this, the server will be 172.168.190.7. Let the user be MySQL. And I will be copying it to MySQL product binary. MySQL database product binary. So let me copy this in here. Once this is copied, I'll be extracting the file. Since this is a zipped tar file, I need to extract it and then I need to create a soft link. It is same as you proceed with binary installation of your MySQL database. So this has been copied. Let me log into the server now. Let me go over here and untar it. So this has been untarred, and now let me create a soft link over here. Let me just copy paste it. So a soft link is also created. Now with root user, or I need to create this directory. So I will be with sudo to root, like that I will be creating this directory. And in here the cluster manager config file will be present. So the directory is already present, that's why it is unable to, it is throwing the error. And this is the file which will be present in the configuration manager. So in here, what all things I am mentioning, number of replicas, it is 2. Since we'll be having 2 servers, the cluster data node and the second data node. That's why the number of replicas is 2. The host name for this, for the cluster manager is this. I'm providing the IP address. And for cluster manager, the data directory will be present over here. Whereas this is the first data node, the cluster data node. And for this, the node ID is 2 and the data directory will be this. Similarly, for second data node, the host name is this, node ID being 3 and the data directory being this. Also, MySQL server or the client that will be running from here, because we do not have much, I do not have much resources to create another server. So this is the configuration. Simple. Next, we can now start the manager by executing this command. This one I already spoke during our theoretical session that for starting the cluster manager, you need to start with this command ndb underscore mgmd, whereas for your data nodes, if you need to start that one, you can start with ndb. So this is the command for your data node. Okay, so we were here. In here you can see this is the path where this is present. With forcefully I'll be taking the configuration file, means I'll be starting it, and with the configuration directory as this. Okay, so let me just start it. So this is done. Now you can see from here it is running. Now we should also see that it should start, the cluster management manager should start after server reboot automatically. So to do that, we need to create a systemd service. So for that, in etc systemd system, I'll be creating this ndb underscore mgmd service. Okay, and over here what all things I will be having, let me just copy paste over it there. The description, after network target, means after restart, what it will be executing, this command restart on failure. So this is it. Now for this, at first what I need to do, I need to kill it. Let me just reload and let's check if it is showing or not. So it is not showing. For this, what I need to do first, I need to kill the process. So the process is, it is this, right? Now let me just start it. You can see that it is active running, and also you can see that it is running right now. So this is done for our cluster manager. Now what we need to do, we need to create our data node. So for data node, the same process, we need to create the directories first. So let me go to my first data node, which is cluster data node. And from here, let me go to MySQL user, and I have created the directories. Now what do I need to do? Again, I need to copy it. So to copy this, let me just copy it from my cluster manager. Okay, let me go in here. So I'm just copying it over here. The same thing I need to do for my second data node also, right? So what I will do, parallelly I will just copy it over there just to save our time. Done. Done. So this is getting copied. I'm again in my first data node, and let me just proceed with this. Let me just untar it, and let me untar over here also. Okay. So after untarring, again I need to create the directory, the soft link. So the soft link is getting created over here. Let me create the same over in my second data node also. So this is done, and let me now proceed with the first data node itself. So let me create the configuration file over here. Since 3 servers are running in my laptop, it is getting slow right now. So what all things I will be having in here, I will just paste and then I will show you. Let me copy it to the, since it's taking much time. So this is the thing which I'll be having over my first data node. Also in the second data node, it has the MySQL D, it is the NDB cluster and the NDB connect string. Okay. So the same goes for this node too. Okay. Now the NDB connect string was the cluster manager. Now what I need to do, I need to start it. So in our example, the data node will find out that is the directory, that is directory is USR local MySQL data. Okay. As per the manager's configuration. No, it is MySQL test data. Now let me start it in my first node. So the command is ndbd as I told, and you can see angel connected to this and angel ID is this. Okay. The same thing, let me start in my second data node too. So in here it is node ID is 3. And now let me kill the process and then enable the system services so that after server reboot it automatically starts. The same way what we did for our cluster manager. Okay. So let me kill it first. 2417 and then just build a service. It should be the same for both my data nodes. So it will be executing this, then system ctl daemon reload, enable, and then start. Now let me check the status. Similarly, for my second data node, let me just kill the process first. So this is killed. Now let me create the service. So the service is created. Now same thing, sudo systemctl daemon reload, enable, and then start. And let's check the status. So this is done. We are completed with cluster manager, setting up the cluster manager and the data nodes. Now I need to configure the SQL Server client. For this, let me go to the binary and in here make a directory install. Okay. And just copy it over here. And again, untar it first. Still getting untarred. After untarring, I need to go to, so this is untarred over here. Now let me go to install and there let's first make the directory. So this already exists. Let me create the my.cnf file for my MySQL server, and in the my.cnf file this will be the entry which I'll be keeping. So what is there? MySQL D, the NDB cluster to run the NDB storage engine, and the NDB connect string, the MySQL, so that it identifies the MySQL cluster manager. I'm giving the IP address for the MySQL cluster manager. Now I need to go to bin. So from here I will just run this so that it initializes the MySQL server. So the temporary password is also generated, which I need to change after initial login. So let me first start the MySQL server. So this is started. Now let me just get in and then change the password first. Let me take the password at first. And copy it over here. Not over here. Let me take one more notepad. And over here. So why did it face, why I'm getting this error? If you can understand, let me know. Let me first change the settings of this and just make it to 12. Okay. So this was the command and I ran this. Why did it fail? Check the path. The path is not right. So that's why it failed. So the path should be this, right? And the default file should be this, right? And then, so let me just copy it over to my notepad and just paste it over. Alter user root at the rate local host done. Now let me check the NDB status. So in here you can see number of ready nodes is 2. Number of data nodes is also 2. Connected port is 1186. Connected host is this. And cluster node ID is 4. So this is the thing which you need to check whether the number of ready nodes is 2 or not. Okay, so this is fine. Let me just change this. Now from cluster manager, let me log into the cluster manager now. So right now in my cluster manager, from here what you can do, you can just check the configuration. Okay, so how do you check it? Show. So in here, if you are pressing put in show, let me just copy it over here first. You can see the two data nodes, the management server node and the MySQL server over here. Now two status, you can see the status of node 2 from here. Likewise for 3 status you will be getting this. Okay, now I'm restarting my node 1. So shutdown completed, restarting. So this is getting restarted. So as I said, from the cluster manager you can totally control your MySQL data nodes, and this is a single entry point from where you can perform all your activities. I hope I am able to clear most of the things by which you can start your journey in MySQL cluster. Please do let me know if you have any queries. I will be trying to solve it. Thanks a lot for watching the video. Please do like, share and subscribe. Take care.